There are Agile coaches and Scrum Masters truly great at coaching teams. I was lucky enough to meet some of them. The ugly truth is that even the best of them quite often fail being in the peak of their team coaching capabilities. On average, companies spend millions of dollars on these roles. When they actually get the best of the best team coaches on board, people learn new knowledge and gain necessary skills very well. You can expect that with so great coaches, people even adopt some fancy practices. Yet the way they think and behave sometimes does not shift as much as necessary, and work outcomes do not impress as much as expected. Finally, huge investments turn into waste. In this video, I will uncover the most common, most impactful, yet usually overlooked and unspoken causes of why teams retain their old culture and work approaches, even with the greatest coaches. You will get ideas to inspect your own organizational context and find the true root causes of similar problems.
As usual, I will use Orca Canvas, a part of the system of knowledge, tools and techniques called Orca Facilitation. By visiting the website www.orcafacilitation.com, you can find a link to the Miro board containing the case I am explaining in this video, as well as learning materials and high-quality templates of Orca Canvas. Let's consider a common case. While in every organization details might be different, the overall concept will often be the same. To consider the case, we can start with a concern about processes executed in a way with a huge room for improvement. We might also notice some quite concerning cultural aspects. Important to note that in many cases, the issues mentioned here might also be driven by other aspects, including bad execution of Agile coaches or Scrum Masters functions. Let's just imagine that this is not the case and teams have already learned not just mechanics, but the purpose of all events and artifacts, and they already know how to do it all very well. Now let's add some of the many possible symptoms. It could happen that despite being well educated about that, teams do not actually want to have retrospectives. An alternative option would be that they come to retros just for fun, but it does not result in the continuous improvement of their work. Another possible symptom is when even well-educated teams do the daily just mechanically, not pursuing its purpose. Sure, when the available great coach is around, they facilitate this event, yet still, team members do not put the due effort into achieving the purpose. Another frequent symptom is when teams work in a mini waterfall inside their sprints or implement a waterfall based on a chain of sprints. Also, a frequent symptom is when teams do rather demos instead of reviews, not really focusing everyone on inspecting the actual product state and collecting valuable feedback. Let's take a bit different angle and recall that teams often resist changing requirements or priorities even when sprint planning is not finished yet. Hence, they do not really pursue value maximization. You might also notice how people tend to go for excessive documentation solely because of the need to hand over their work between different people executing different functions. For instance, developers quite often demand excessive specifications from analysts before they start development. Overall, we can say that many teams do not adopt agile approaches at all, or do not do it focusing on the achievement of their true purpose, even though they learned it very well. Now, culture-wise, you can have concerns about teamwork between teams and within teams, about lacking the focus of team members on customer value, or in general about multiple team dysfunctions at a level of teams or again between teams and between different roles. All of that would not bother anyone, yet unfortunately, that results in the concerning work outputs and business outcomes. For instance, low speed of delivering customer value, relatively low benefits compared to the high cost, and ultimately weak business performance. So, what are the causes of the concerning behavioral and process patterns even when you have the greatest team coaches on board who have already educated teams very well and facilitated their processes so people have learned how to do it properly? This is the time to look at your organizational design, and we will start with rewards and people management practices. Let's provide some of the included elements. Please remember that in your company these may have different names, but the meaning is the same. So, careers, corporate grades, job titles, salaries and bonuses, performance evaluations, formal and informal recognition, hiring and professional development. The most impact on the way people think and behave comes from the fact that despite how they are declared, these aspects are de facto often based on individual achievements or based on narrow functions like front-end development, back-end development, QA, DevOps, etc., or based on the manager's interpretation that often diverts the attention of team members from teamwork to maximize individual achievements or visibility for a manager. Now let's also consider other elements of organizational design pertaining to structures and processes. First, we will look at the team level. Here, for instance, it quite often happens that each team working on a de facto single product from the customer perspective has their own separate product backlog. Or teams commit to deliver some fixed scope of work instead of achieving some business-relevant customer-centric goals. Or every team owns a subset of components, while customer features often require development across these component subsets. Sometimes there are formal roles within teams, such as a developer, a QA, an analyst, or teams are responsible for delivering according to specifications instead of solving customer or business problems. Well, this is just half of the story. We also need to look at a wider organizational setup. You often can find a contract game between the business or product department that wants to deliver more features as soon as possible and, for instance, the technology department that wants to commit to fewer features to be delivered later. You may also discover conflicting responsibilities of departments and a so-called front-back model implemented between departments.
Let's summarize. Regardless of the level of proficiency of Agile coaches and Scrum Masters working with teams, their potential in helping teams become truly agile is drastically constrained by the organizational design of the wider organization. This involves department-level organizational structures, reporting lines and line management functions, cross-team and cross-department processes, recognition criteria and approaches, performance evaluation, salary and bonus management, as well as professional and career development. If you are in a change agent or management role, check these aspects in your own organization. Identify those drivers holding your teams back from cultural and mindset shift, and work with the management at a level authorized for respective changes. If you are interested in similar topics, hit the subscribe button now. And don't forget to give a like to this video if you find it helpful. Thank you and see you in the next episode or in the classroom.